Hey guys, and welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Lapeef Network. Today I have a few guests. This is Ola. I say hi, Ola.
Hey,
I have
Ameera.
Quincy. Quincy.
Hello. Hi.
Hi. And we have Arun. Quincy
Hey,
has a
Ameera.
short delay because she is not in the States. She is in Nigeria, I believe. Correct, Quincy? So there is
Yes,
going to be a slight
correct.
delay, but we're going to work with it. So I guess I want to say welcome, guys. Welcome back. And let's begin. So I want to be the host of this. I will not be talking too much, but I do want to throw out some questions because there are some things that I am curious about, and I have wrote them down. So let's start off easy. Who are you? What is your name? Where are you from? And are you married? I'll start with you, Ola.
Yes, my name is Ola. I am one half of a life partnership with my wife Lola. I am born in Dallas, Texas, raised in Nigeria, live in the United States right now in New Jersey, and I'm just happy to be here to hang out with you guys.
Thank you, Ola. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's go to Quincy.
Hi, everyone. And I'm so happy to be here. My name is Quincy, and I'm currently a master's student. I'm from the University of Lagos, and also I'm single, born and raised in Nigeria.
Thank you so much. I have a lot of questions for you coming up. And you, Aaron?
Hey, Ameera. Thanks for the opportunity and thanks for the feed.
Okay.
Right. I live in New York. I'm 38 years old. I've been living in the United States for about since 2008. So I'm born and raised in India for 25 years. I've been married to an African American woman, but I'm currently in the process of divorce. So, yes.
Thank you, guys. It is so interesting to have people from different areas, different countries, different cultures, and we're all here on this platform to share ideas and share experiences. So let's begin with my first question to you all. Will be, I have it written down here, so give me a second. My first question is this. Western and Eastern marriages do not have much in common. Do you think that the Nigerian culture is more similar to the Indian culture, and in what way?
You want to go with me first?
Whoever wants to go first, it's open.
Oh, okay. Um, so it depends. I think traditionally speaking, yes, there's probably some similarities there. But to be honest, I don't know much about the Indian marriage culture. It's just hearsay that I know. But I think we can safely say there's a lot of similarities as compared to the Western world. But I must say that, like we say in Nigeria, they do say there's a city in Nigeria called Warri, and they say Warri no they carry last. But it's also said as Nigeria no they carry last. That means we don't come last. That means if there's a new thing out there, we take it on, and we're probably gonna beat you at it. And one of those things is westernization. So there's a lot of people that are westernizing their way of thinking uh, of Nigerians, both home and abroad. So I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of people are taking on the westernized way of doing things. So I won't say in the present day per se, but I'll say the westernization thing is growing everywhere. But yes, traditionally speaking, there are probably a lot of similarities in the way things work when it comes to marriages. So, I mean, we can continue to unpack the conversation. Is that good or bad? We can continue to talk about that, right?
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I guess I want to open that question a little bit more, maybe not narrow it so much to Nigerian and Indian, maybe we can open it up more to like Nigerian culture and Eastern culture in general. I would say even Middle Easterners. So, one argument that I have often on the show is that Eastern culture is very much, or Easterners have so much similarities between us that our cultures can almost be the same thing. So I'm just curious to see what others think. Quincy, let me know what you think. What do you think about this question? Do you believe that the Nigerian culture has more similarities than not with Indian and Middle Eastern culture?
I do not know much about the Eastern, but what I do know about is for Indians, at least for movies that I've actually seen, and I do have a little, I have friends from India as well. You know, in terms of the wedding, the traditional wedding, it's a bit, you know, it's different. The traditional rites in terms of when it comes to the bride price, when it comes to, you know, other events, it's quite different, and you know, it's amazing. That in India, the wife has to pay the bride price, you know, to the groom, and you know, it's a whole lot different because it's as a Nigerian from the East, because I'm Igbo, proudly Igbo. But yeah, the male actually pays the bride price, you know. So, and other of events, it's also different too as well in India. I guess you know you have Sangeet. I think there are other things you have to do before the main occasion, but in my place, you know, it's just one day and we call it a day. So that's the difference that I know, you know. But in terms of colors, dancing, you know, a whole lot of culture, and you know, it's kind of like similar, and you know, yeah, that's what I can say.
I see what you're saying. So there's many similarities, but then you're also pointing out that the dowry system is different. And there's a lot, like if he's noticing like Indian marriages, they go like almost a month, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron. How are Indian weddings done?
All right. So India, every region has their own differences, right? So just a little quick history. The similarities, we do have a lot of similarities, including not Nigeria, but there's a country called Cameroon, right, in Africa. They have some of the words that mean the same thing in the language Tamil, which is my neighboring state, right? The reason why it is because 5 to 10,000 years ago, the land ruled by the kings at that time spanned all the way across to Israel and all the way into some parts of the Africa. So it was all under one ruling 5 to 10,000 years ago, right? Somewhere between that time period. So now similarities, right? Take me, I come from a scheduled tribe. I come from a tribal background, right? So everybody know there's a caste system in India, but what people know about caste system is completely false, right? Caste system is more about mindset and the body and the character, but over the period it has become more about dominating other castes because um, because of various different reasons, right? So tribal people and melanated people, they come from the southern part of India, and northern people are more of mixed race, like you heard of the Aryan race and things like that. However, India as a whole have 80% common practices when it comes to marriage. Arranged marriage is a common tradition. Just like Quincy was saying, dowry comes from groom side. Now, correct me, English, bride side, right? Female, right? However, they come to the table, talk about what the girl side family is putting on the table and the man side family is putting on the table. Man should come with a house, finances, stability, and farm, and the female would come with gold and some kind of liquid cash, or some kind of property on her name, and that is on the table, right? And this is discussed and agreed upon among uncles, aunties, elders, grandfathers, grandparents, witnessing that. The reason why, just in case if things go sideways, right? Because nothing is perfect, right? If things go sideways, we revisit that table and we make sure we give that back to them, right? So there's no court involved back in the day, right? So now, when it comes to Nigeria and other countries in Africa, I did some studies on that, right? Ethiopian tribes is a tribe called Masai Mara. They do the same practice as our tribes do back in South India, right? And Nigerian tribes have a strong family bond, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I only did my analysis and talked to Nigerian friends in America, right? Um, the aspect of families coming together and instilling the value of marriage, the fundamentals are same. There might be a little difference on rituals and how we do the wedding, right? Those might be a little different. But the values, how they instill since they are a kid in the home are similar, right? So now coming to your question about how long the marriage goes, the marriage ritual is actually 3 days, right? First day is bonding phase without physically being present. So the female gets decorated with her aunties and everything. She gets rubbed with turmeric and sandalwood so that her skin can glisten, right? Mehendi and all that kind of stuff, right? So now man hangs out with the uncles and father side, and he gets taught on what marriage is and how you should be approaching the woman, how you should be in the marriage. So he gets all these kind of lessons taught, and there are some rituals to it. Wedding in itself, the process goes on for 2 hours or 3 hours, right? It's a ritual, in front of the fire. There are a lot more values in it. And while they're doing the ritual, there are a lot of physically involvement in it. That way the man can put the hand over the girl and the girl can put her hand over the man. And the power exchange in there during this ritual is displayed as equal. But at the same time, the wedding is led by man in that setting. So there's a lot more to it, right? But then the wedding ritual itself, three hours, 3 to 4 hours. But then the marriage lasts 3 days, but the celebration goes on for 7 days or 10 days.
That's beautiful. So
Yes.
you brought up an interesting point because we actually had, I don't know if you guys have been watching this network, but I believe it was last week. We had a question that JR presented to the panel, and he said something similar to, does a man have to have a house to
Yep.
run a household? Do you
Yes.
remember that?
Yes, I do.
So what you're saying makes a lot of sense, that
Yes.
when you get married, the man has to have certain things. He has to have a house,
Yep.
being one of the most important things.
Yes.
That is very interesting. So what I'm getting from this is that we do have more in common than, I would say, the Western world. Because if
Absolutely.
you notice the Western marriages, look, I don't really know everything about Western marriages, but I do know that they are very much, I don't see that the family is so involved. I don't see that
Mhm.
the father has to approve and that, the
Mhm.
man has to have certain requirements. I don't see
Mhm.
that. But in
Yep.
our cultures, they do.
Yes.
So that brings me to our next question. Let me pull it up. My next question to you is this: if our Eastern cultures are so great, then why do we move to the West and not adopt the Western way of life? I know, Quincy, that you don't live in the West, but if you were to move to the West, I would imagine that you wouldn't, what is the word when you assimilate, that you wouldn't assimilate fully to the Western culture just because we have our own traditional values.
Yes.
So my question is, um, why do we not adopt the Western way of life when we move to the West? I'll start with you, Quincy. Quincy? Uh-oh.
Can you
Is she,
repeat the
is she
question
still
again?
there?
Till I lost you halfway.
Okay. So the question is, if our cultures are so good in the East, why is it that when we move to the West, why do we not adopt the Western way of life? Are we having connection
If I get it
issues?
correct, you're asking
Yeah.
Okay, well,
why
I'll
is
Amir,
different
Amir,
from that in the East
hold on, Quincy.
and
Quincy, I
similar?
want you to hold tight real quick because I don't want people to miss this message. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if I can call you and see if I can Bluetooth you on the discussion so that we don't miss anything. Okay.
that'll be great.
Okay. All right, Amir. Just go around the panel and I'm gonna see what I can do.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
All right. Awesome.
JR to the rescue. Thank you, JR. Okay, so I guess we'll go with you, Ola.
All right. Can you hear me now?
I hear you.
Okay. So the question is that why do we move to the Western world? And what was the second part of the question?
So I'll read it again. It says, if our Eastern cultures are so great,
Mm-hmm.
why did or why do we move to the West and not adopt the Western way of life? Why do we hold on to our traditions so strongly? If the West is where we're moving to,
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't we assimilate?
Yeah. And that's always a question that I have too when people are rooting so hard for the Eastern culture, right? But what I like to do is I like to separate the different aspects of life when it comes to the Western world and the Eastern world, right? The reason why so many people are moving to Western is for better life, you know. So we're talking about social economy situation now. We're talking about bad leadership in those other countries as well, right? But again, when we bring it back to this conversation, the context of this conversation was marriage, right? So it's a different conversation within all these different aspects of life: marriage, political, religion, right? Spiritual. There are also other aspects of Eastern world. So there's no perfect system in the world. I think that's what we're getting here. I think that's the memo that we're getting. There's no perfect system. However, when it comes to marriage, what I see is that a lot of people they have the grass is greener syndrome, right? It's always it must be better on the other side, right? And let me borrow some language here. If you're trash, no matter what system you go into, right, you're gonna create trash in that system. Let's just be honest with ourselves here, right? So if you take your trash self into Eastern traditions, right, you're gonna create trash. If you bring it into Western traditions, you're gonna create trash. That's just the bottom line at the end of the day. Personally, I don't necessarily think that it's an absolute that Eastern is better than Western. I think we can all agree based on results, off of results, that you live in the Western world, it must be something really good about it, right? Maybe not when it comes to the home building the family structure part of it, right? Maybe there's some things we can borrow from the Eastern world, right? But there's no perfect system anywhere in the world. And I think I don't want to jump ahead of myself. I think people should just work on themselves as a self, and then you can plug yourself into any system that you prefer, and just off of just preference, and you're probably going to create some greatness from that as well.
Sorry, I muted myself. I understand what you're saying. And before I, I want to give my commentary, but I want to let Aaron answer first. Go
Okay.
on, Aaron.
Um, the reason why we Eastern people or people coming from ancient cultural background, right? They don't want to assimilate with Western is West. Um, to be very bluntly honest, East India Company or white people have ruled the world from the last 200 to 300 years, right? And the way they set up the system is to benefit them, right? So, for example, if you take a laptop, you have alphabets, English alphabets on most of the laptop, and that goes across the rural part of any country, right? They might not even speak English, but they use the laptop which has English alphabets in there, right? Um, when we come to West, it's purely survival because of the way the system is set up, right? Um, when we come here, we don't necessarily try to change our cultural backgrounds because of the rich history we have. We come here purely to have a better lifestyle in dollars, right? Most people from Nigeria, Africa, Middle East, India, even China, they come here, they still practice their traditions and culture, right? And cultures that have rich history, thousands of years of history, right? The genetic values, they are encoded in their genetics, right? And there's a reason why we practice our marriage system within our last family names, right? We don't really go outside. I know this is also common in Nigeria. Let's say if they have a last name, they look for closer female or male within that last name to keep that tribe intact, right? Western people, especially in America, they just started learning a lot of things, especially the fundamentals, right? Our cultures coming from East, we have gone through these fundamentals long time ago. We have gone through these errors and trials long time ago. What is going to work, what is not going to work. We have gone through them a long time ago. And out of them, we took the best practices and then implemented them into a system called marriage, which is nothing but an institute given by God, right? That's the reason why all of our cultures have 80% of them have the same common denominator when it comes to marriage, because that has been vetted out, error and trials, and they learned and took the best practices and passed the message across the globe saying that this is going to work and this is the right way to do things. In this society, there are so many negative things that comes out of this lifestyle. Kids are facing that. Mental health issues, crime, early pregnancies, teenage pregnancies. It's a ripple effect. What's going on in America is nothing new. This has happened in our cultures a long time ago. And we have faced the consequences out of it. There's a greater loss that comes with it. Mental health issue is the first one. When you don't have a solid support system, the kids growing up grew up dysfunctional, confused. That's why you see all these things going on in America, right? So that's the reason why it's so strongly bonded in our culture. It's an economic plan, it's a spiritual plan, and it also brings peace and prosperity, not happiness. It brings peace and prosperity because happiness is a wave. We are happy one day, we are not happy the other day, but we make it happen because we are one unit. We commit ourselves to our family because that's our last name. Take my example, right? I've seen so many people over here, they take pride in being stepfathers, right? I can never call any other man, you are like my father. I would never do that because of the loyalty that I have towards my father and my mother. I'm going to give them respect as an elder, but I will never call them, never give that position ever. Even if let's say something happens to my father and he is long gone, I will never give that seat to him. That seat will be empty as my father's position. But over here, it has been because that's what they had to do. So that loyalty or that relationship with your father has been split into different men. So there's no sense of loyalty, but there's a greater damage that comes with it, right? And we are seeing that in this society happening every day.
You're right. We don't see it that way. That's a really interesting point that you brought up, is that you could never disrespect it. For you, it's almost like disrespecting your own father by calling another man your father.
Absolutely.
But here we have to understand that because of how this system is going, and this is something I've been thinking about for a while too, and I guess I'm gonna just confess it here. I've been thinking, because of how the system is so broken and the point that we have reached now, there's gonna have to be some men that will have to stand up and take on families that
Absolutely
have already been started, just because if they don't, there's no way we're going to start fixing things unless
Absolutely.
we just let the other people die out. But
Yes.
it's hard. I want to wait to give my points after Quincy. Quincy, did you hear the question?
No, I did not.
Okay. The question again is this. 1 minute, let me bring it up. It says, if our Eastern cultures are so great, why did or why do we move to the West and not adopt the Western way of life?
In terms of moving, are you talking about like why are we going to the West to start up our life? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. And why do we hold on so hard to our traditions when the Western world is seen as something better than our homes? Then why don't we adopt the Western way of life instead of holding on to our traditions like we do?
Um, okay. First things first, I believe that we are actually going because maybe just to quote unquote
get make something better, like do something better with our lives, actually improve our lives, maybe from we've actually what we experience at home. But our values, our culture, it's something that was actually instilled in us. It's something that, you know, we actually grew up with. And, going over there then abandoning them, just because we're actually going to the West, I don't know, it doesn't seem right. It doesn't sit right with me. So why we actually do that, or why we actually hold on to our culture, is because this is who we are. This is actually you know, what we are known for. And just because we are actually going to another man's land, that doesn't mean we should, it's we can abide by their laws, make sure we do everything right. But when it comes to our values, when it comes to what we are known for, I don't think it's easy to just, let it go because and adopt another Western way of life. Of course, when you go to the West, you'll be able to adopt. You'll be able to, take out one or two things that you've actually learned. Maybe a better way of doing something. Um, I don't know how to say this. Maybe how somehow, let's say in terms of etiquette or something like that, you get to know how to do things better. But that doesn't mean you're living your own out, or that doesn't mean, or it doesn't render your own culture or your way of life or your values obsolete. You just have to like adapt and still hold on to your values, the core values of your family or your culture. When it comes in terms of respect, your elders, in terms of what to do, in terms of a marriage, in terms of how you relate to people, generally, there are other things you can pick up from the West. Maybe when you go over there, you can, understand a few things, how they operate, because obviously you're in a different time zone, you're in different atmosphere, so you would have to like, adapt, a bit, obey their laws and rules. Like what, like this popular saying, when you go to Rome, you behave like the Romans, just to be able to adapt easily, but you still hold on to your values. When you come back home, you still hold on, to your own core values, you're known for.
Thank you,
So yeah.
Quincy. Thank you, Quincy. That makes so much sense. And the reason I asked you all this question is because I've seen comments, not exactly here, but even on my channel, I get comments like, well, if you love your culture so much, why don't you go back to it? Why don't you go back to your country? Why are you here? And I'm almost like, excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Like, and so this is why I brought it up to you guys, because I wanted to
So
hear.
sorry, Amira. Did you consider it a valid question or not?
What do you mean?
Like if they say, "Why don't you go back to your country?" Did you consider it a valid question or not?
I did. I did. I take everything as it is. I don't try to. I mean, although everyone has their bias in their head, but I try to take every question as as a genuine question. So I did say that. I'm like, yeah, why am I here? And I know why I'm here. So, are we getting some background?
Now I'm trying to fix her audio. The audience suggests she use headphones. She was using her AirPods. So,
Okay.
Quincy, if you can hear me, see if you have the headphones that came with the phone. I see a lot of people on YouTube. They typically use those. I think the
Yeah, I don't know.
AirPods.
Can you hear me? Is it better now?
Like, is that better, you guys?
I think so. Can I have her
It's,
speak a little bit?
it's,
Hello, can you hear me?
yeah,
Is it better? Is my
That's better.
audio better?
it sounds
Yeah.
manageable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's better. Thank you. Thank you, JR.
But okay.
So, okay, I guess we can move on unless anyone has anything to finish off that topic. Does anybody want to say anything regarding this?
That question that somebody, whoever posted on the comment, whatever, Ameera, that's a stupid question. They should not say that because this land is given by God. Nation boundaries have created by humans. right? When God said you should live off of the land, this whole land is ours, right? It's just that we respect the laws of this country. We come here legally. It's not that we just intruding into the land illegally or whatever, right? One person in California, when I was living in California, I'm not going to take any names. He said the same thing to me. He was a man, right? Where I come from, it's a disrespect. So I call him out on one-on-one. Like you're not going to disrespect me on that level and cross the line, and I'm not going to keep quiet. So if you want to cross that line, let's go. We fist up. We do a one-on-one. He did not step up, so I told him, no, don't ever say that to me again. Because your government gave me permission to come over here and I pay taxes over here, right? It's the land of the free, right?
Yeah, it's
So
none of their business. Yeah.
absolutely, it's not your business. I'm paying taxes just as you are, if not more, right? And I have more restrictions, and you have more privileges. And all the amendments apply to me equally as it applies to you, right? So
True.
you should not take it personally. But as a man, another man calling me out, I'm not going to take that like so.
I
That's
like
me.
that. See, men are
So
very confrontational that way. Go ahead, Ola. Was that Ola or was that you, Aaron?
I think it's a valid question. I don't have to engage with an answer, and I just, but it depends on how you're asking me.
yeah,
If we're having a conversation and you ask me why don't I stay in my country, uh, for me personally, you're gonna get me started. I was born here. I was born to immigrants. It's too much. I can't get into that story, right? Um, but I can tell you that people move here for better life. That's a valid answer as well, in my opinion.
yes,
And hopefully that answer is good enough for you. If that answer is not enough for you, I like to keep it here, present. So
The
that
argument
means,
is the argument is like when they say I want to give you an example why they say this. The reason is they say, well, you're coming over here for a better life, yeah? If we bring the people with your traditions over here, you're going
right,
to make the same problems that you have in your country in this country because
absolutely,
they consider it a mindset. And yes, Easterners don't have the perfect culture. We all have issues in our Eastern countries, but one thing that we do have that's good is our family structure
yeah,
and the way that we interact with one another, as in masculine, feminine. As I'm speaking on this, I have my next question for you.
right, right.
My next question.
I'll say this.
Oh,
I'll
go
say
ahead.
this. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay, I'll tell you like this. The truth is that when humans have the same behavior everywhere in the world, you got to plug human into the right systems. So the way leadership is set up in a lot of those countries right now is that the leadership is a product of the people, and literally decades and centuries of bad practices when it comes to leadership, right? But when you take somebody coming out of a simple high school or a college, university, and you plug them in the system, they hold on to values. They tend to hold on to values, right? But they also try to, let's not get it twisted. They're not innocent either. They try to assimilate or try to take advantage of some of the comfortable things about the westernized system as well. But then when it's comfortable, they fall back into that's not how we do where I'm from, right? And this is creating chaos as well. And no one is willing to talk about that because that's where the work is. There are people that come here and lose their value as well. And they only want to pick on those value when it's comfortable. But I'm sure we'll get there in this conversation. I'm sure. But I'm
I
the one to call
mean,
them out.
well, I know what you're saying, but I mean, like I said, I can see it from both ways. I do understand both points. I think what we need to do is find that, just like all of us are trying to do in America, we're trying to find that balance because we have to progress as human beings. We have to get to a point where it's not this or that, but it's I take the good from here and leave the bad over there and take the good from this side. Do you understand? So we don't need to bring the bad things from the East and make it the same problem here in the West, but we need to bring the good that we have from the East and how can you say, blend that with the West. So I guess my next question to you all will be this. You all know what a masculine woman is, correct?
yep,
And you know what a feminine man is.
yes.
How I'm interested in how do you see this issue of masculine women and feminine men? How are they handled or addressed in your country or in your culture? I want to start with you, Aaron.
Um, so growing up, take me as an example. I have four aunties and four uncles on my mother's side. Even at my home, I have two younger brothers. Right. Growing up as a boy, if I'm going into the kitchen, my auntie used to say, "Hey, what business you have in the kitchen? Get out of here." Right. Um, what they are doing is, as a female, they're instilling the masculine energy in me. They're waking that up in me. Right. I have a lot of nieces and nephews. Recently, one of my nieces got married. Right. She turned 25. Um, to them, what they teach is that take me, or she has two or one brother. They used to serve the boys like how a wife serves the husband, right? If I go out and come back home, my auntie used to bring me a glass of water, or she used to tell her daughter to go give me some glass of water, even though I did not ask for it. Maybe I was not even if I'm by myself, I probably wouldn't even go drink water. But it's a tradition when a man comes back home, give him a glass of water because man is built differently, right? So let him calm down with a glass of water. Even he might not even know he's thirsty, but it's a tradition. And my mom does that even till this day. If I come back home, first thing she do is give me a glass of water, and it's a nonverbal communication to calm a man down as soon as he comes back in. And she does that with my dad too. As soon as he come back home, she just brings a glass of water. She just hands it to him or put it on the table. Leave it alone, right? So there are a lot of things like this. Take a girl, masculine girl. Masculine girls are everywhere. It's not just the modern woman thing, right? Masculine girls are everywhere. However, as a kid, you notice those things, right? And you tell a girl you don't fight a man, you don't challenge a man. You have a problem, take it to your dad or your mother. You don't confront a man head on. And they do this thing in the family with the brother and sister. You know why? When she go out, she knows not to do that because a brother might not beat her up, but if she goes out with the same attitude, she might put herself in a bad predicament, right? Then what's going to happen? We're going to have to go play victim, or why did you beat a girl? Blame the man. We're going to handle the situation later, but why would I put myself in a situation like that, right? So for a girl, if she has those masculine tendencies, at home, they nurture the feminine tendencies in actions, right? When it needs to be condemned, it is condemned. As a boy, if I'm arguing with a girl, I would get told the same way. Why are you arguing with a girl? You are the bigger person. You should be the bigger person. If you got a problem, just keep quiet or take it to your mom or take it to your father. You don't fight a girl, right? You don't challenge a girl, and you don't compete with a girl. You got other boys to go compete with. And
Oh my
this
God,
gets
that is
taught.
such a good point. I have to keep that in my memory, guys. I'll let you
Mhm.
finish, but we have to keep that in the memory. Go on. You
Yes,
can.
and this get taught, right? Even when we are playing games, there are some games where girls and boys play together. It's mostly non physical combative games, right? But when it comes to physical combative games, girls play those games among girls and boys play those games among boys, right? We get taught you don't compete with a woman and you don't put your hands on a woman. If
Thank you.
you got a problem, just walk away, right?
Yeah.
So these are the things that get instilled at a different age, especially when they get close to the early teen years, right? These get even more stricter, right?
Correct. Correct.
So they get instilled, and man is put into work in the farm or in a physically challenging environment, and
Hmm.
woman at the early teenagers, she assists her mother in learning how to cook and this and that, at the same time focusing on education, being intelligent, but at the same time using the words the way they should be used. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So um, um, again, man built differently and women are built differently.
Thank you.
um,
Thank you so
in the,
much, Aaron.
yes, in the modern day, those things are getting confused.
Correct.
right?
Yeah,
So
we see it.
we can break that down into a lot deeper, but that's my take on
Thank you. And just before I forget it, I'm going to go on to Quincy next. But just before I forget it, I do want to say something similar to Aaron. In our culture, we bring our men tea. When they
it.
come home,
Yes,
we just make them tea straight away and let them
yes,
sit down and we leave them alone. When
yes,
they come in the house, tea, and we walk away. We
yes.
don't sit and talk. We just let them be for a while
For
because
me, yes.
something that we understood is that daddy needs his time,
Digress, yes.
husband needs his time. You don't bother him for a while, because he will even shoo you away. In our culture, even the man will say, oof, go.
It's a testosterone.
Yeah, yeah. And what was the other thing? Oh, the competition, but we'll bring that up later. Quincy, I want to hear from you. Did you understand the question or do you need me to repeat it?
Yeah, I did understand the question. It's quite
Okay.
different in my country. It's quite different in my country because when the man comes back from work or something, if everybody's on him, like literally they've missed him. I'm like, daddy, 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 something I've known of, or something I grew up with, everybody's on him. They don't even allow him to rest, and sometimes he just goes into the room and shuts down and, doesn't let anybody come in. But, we are just happy to see him. In fact, we asked him, what did you bring back from work? Did you get something for us? Daddy, did you come back with anything? Something like that, So we just like, let him, feel the presence of his family. Then, we missed you, something like that. That's how it is for me. Um, yeah, and also when it comes to like um, masculine women and feminine men, it's kind of like 50-50 over here. At least for what I've seen and what I've experienced. Some girls are girls, girly girls, and some girls are like really tough. First things first, maybe because of their dad. Most girls you get to see who are really masculine, maybe because their dads were really, really tough on them. They treated them as boys, you know, basically, basically because maybe there was no male child in the family, so the father just automatically, sees one of the girls or many of them as boys. Teach them the tough way. They get to even do some things like wash the cars, um, do some male work, chores at home, like if, some things, maybe the plumbing or the electrical work, even when they go to school as well, they're not afraid to challenge boys because they know, the kind of upbringing they have at home. They have a strong dad at home as well. While some ladies, they're really on the feminine side, if their femininity is very, very high. Um, in terms of boys, our boys here, our men here are really taught to be very, very strong, in terms of when it comes to how to handle their fellow men. They don't even, when it comes to interacting with girls too as well, it's similar with what the last speaker said. They don't let, um, you don't challenge girls, you don't talk to a girl, you treat a girl with respect, even though when they say, well, like, why are you arguing with a girl? Even when you're arguing with your fellow man, they tell you, why are you even arguing like a woman? You have to, face this guy or whoever you're arguing with one on one, man to man. So our men are really taught, to really tap into their masculine side a whole lot. Yeah. So basically, that's it. That's it for me. That's my experience of what I've known.
That is amazing. You brought up another point. When people are arguing, people will say, "Why are you arguing like a woman?" Even our culture, they have the same thing. Well, they would say to the man, "Stop arguing like a woman." Even if the man, no man in my culture sits there and argues with his woman. You won't see like an hour argument going back and forth and back and forth. Men, they just don't do it.
Yeah.
They say what they need to say and they leave the room. They say what they have to say and they leave. And the woman can argue with herself. So,
Exactly.
right. Were you going to say something, Quincy?
Oh no, 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 no. You can go on. I'm done speaking.
Okay, and another thing I wanted to say also, some people might feel weird about hearing this, but in my family, my husband has not washed one dish since we've been married. Well, actually, I don't even think he's washed a dish in his whole life. Yeah, I don't think he's
It's the
ever
same
washed a
thing.
dish in his whole life.
It's the same thing back home.
Yeah, it's almost like how can I say this? It's like the men cannot do it, or it just makes him look like a woman almost. He's doing woman's work. That's a woman's
and the
work.
and the females tell him not to do it,
Yes,
right?
yes, we won't
They
allow
get
it.
mad
No, it
if
just won't happen.
even yeah. So
Yeah, I've seen American culture. They'll say, "Well, my husband washes the dishes Monday through Wednesday, and I wash the dishes." And I'm like, "Oh my God." Okay, Ola, please tell me what you think about this topic.
All right, are you ready for me to shake the tables a little bit?
Oh my God! Everybody, put on your seatbelt. Put on your seatbelt. Chat, chat. Grab your stuff.
All right. So I grew up in Nigeria. I grew up between the ages of 3 and 18 in Nigeria, and I'm glad that Quincy is here to support what I just said. Slightly, what she just said. Support what I'm about to say slightly. The truth is that, like I said in the very beginning of this show today. By the way, shout out to everyone in the home base show of this platform. Shout out to you, Ameera. Shout out to the JR. Shout out to Anton, Rilla,
Rila, thank you so much.
Kay, Courtney. Just want to say shout out to all those people and pay some respect to them.
Shout out to Courtney and Kay.
Yep. So and Lauren. All right. So, so now back to the conversation. So the thing is that the like the way I was born in '79. I'm 41 years old. So growing up in the
Wait, wait,
late
wait, wait, wait. You okay? You do not look 41. I don't know what I expect for a 41-year-old to look like, but you do not look 41 at all.
Thank
That's
you. I
that's
appreciate that.
amazing.
Thank
Good,
you. I appreciate
good
that.
on
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So, so growing up in the late '80s, there, they were already started to be westernized, right? So as a matter of fact, I'm closer to the village more than most of my contemporaries, right? So my parents kind of like moved back. They were students here. They moved back, and I was being raised basically closer to the village. I spent a lot of holidays in the village, and the truth of the matter is that yes, there the gender roles as we know it, as we would like to kind of like it, right? Were there, but a lot of it were unwritten rules. They were not things that were necessarily said. And I think the way we handle the masculine feminine thing, um, it's more fluid than actually it is, right? Like it's more energy. It's not necessarily the written in stone gender roles, and that's true for everywhere in the world, in my opinion. Now, it depends on the culture, right? A lot of the things that we try to align as feminine or masculine are more so culture, or what that culture has assigned to be masculine or feminine. And if you know anything about human beings, they evolve for whatever reason, because of external factors, because of westernization, because of enlightenment. Enlightenment is not always a good thing, right? There's certain part of it that's good, but also when you start to know certain things, it can destroy you, right? So when you look at the culture around the world, or anywhere where it's exposed to Western world, like Nigeria is, right? You see that women are being empowered, and what we're doing is we're pushing against it, and I get it. I understand it. It's uncomfortable, right? Because this is new, right? And I think there's work that needs to be done here, and that work is not going to be as simple as calling people out and holding people accountable. That's part of it, but it's not going to be that simple. Okay, I think the masculine core, right? The masculine core starts from the emotions, and it starts from self, how to manage your own self emotions. For example, if a child start to act like a child, right, around you, are you going to turn to a child? No. You will basically like, whoa, something is going on. I don't understand. Let's find out what's going on. You may spank the child. If spanking is not good enough, you try to find out more of what's going on, right? As opposed to trying to hold a child accountable like an adult, right? Now, I'm not calling women children. I'm just saying there's something happening that we don't all yet understand, right?
Wait a
So,
minute, wait. Can I ask a question? Because I think I'm
yes,
losing the point here. Are
yeah.
you trying to say that this masculization, if that's a word, this women becoming more masculine is a part of our
So,
evolving?
so, so, as human beings, we all have masculine and feminine in us. But as a man, based on the culture up to now, 2021, a man is much more in his essence when he's in his masculine core, right? But that's with respect to relationship with other people. That's not just by himself. He's not living in a cave. That's also still with respect to the women. You understand what I'm saying? So if the women are changing or something is happening, let's say they're getting more masculinated, right? As opposed to pushing hard at it, right? Basically, we're trying to run from it, right? We need to try to understand what's going on. You see what I'm saying? I think every woman has masculine in them, and it comes out when they feel the need to protect themselves. If they feel the need to protect themselves, it will come out. If they feel unsafe, not secure, they will protect themselves. If we don't understand that, what you're going to have is not the product that you want. What you still want is a feminine woman, right? All right. So you're not going to force them back to feminine by saying, just be feminine. That's not how it works. It's energy. That's not how it works.
That's true. I understand. But what we have here is that these women fought for this. They fought for this individualism.
Freedom.
They fought for this independence, and now that they have it, now they're put in that position where they are unprotected and becoming more masculine. See,
Yes.
this is something that we should all talk about. Like, how are we going to pull this back? But I say I get
Yes.
what you're saying,
Yes.
but you didn't answer my
Yes.
question.
Yeah, so I'm going there. I'm going there. It's a thing in Nigeria, right? Also, like women are speaking out more, and it's coming off as disrespect because again, we're not used to this, right? But keep in mind, I said come it's coming off as disrespect. The question is that does she mean to be disrespectful? That's the question we need to be asking. Because if she doesn't mean to be disrespectful and I go say, hey, you're disrespectful, she's like, what do you mean I'm disrespectful? Then becomes another question, another question. And that's the conversation I want us to keep having. But yes, in Nigeria, it's real because, like I told you, since the late 80s, it's already starting to get westernized. And the way I was raised, no, yes, the man of the house, not the children, boys, not like Aaron, right? I had chores in the kitchen. I had to wash plates. So when I'm an adult right now, one of my favorite things to do in the kitchen is I wash plates when I feel like it, though. Because also my wife is Nigerian, so she's kind of was raised like that. But it's not necessarily like probably in the Eastern, like the Middle East. It's not something that was like you were sat down and you were taught. It was more like unwritten rule. It was just something that you see and you kind of grow up to know. But again, like I said, people are getting westernized. So some of our parents will push, like we had maybe like a house girl, right? Like maids in the house, right? But our parents will insist that no, you have to have your own house chores, and you could be a boy and washing plates in the kitchen. Yes, the way I was raised in my own household. I don't know anybody else's household, but most of my friends are kind of like that too. They use that to kind of say so you can be self-sustainable in life by yourself as well. They don't want you to depend all the way on the maids.
That's
It's
something that
the same.
oh, go ahead, Quincy.
No, I said same here in my household. Like boys are actually raised to do chores. In fact, it's like there's a timetable for it. Between the siblings. Nobody they don't look at gender or something. While most guys or some boys don't really participate in the cooking aspect. You know, but for chores and washing of dishes and all that stuff, it's a given. Like it's a must unless maybe the mom, maybe the family comes for they're just only boys. That's when you get to see that some of the boys actually participate in kitchen activities, like they get to cook, just because they have to help their mom out, because they're just boys, they're no girls, and all that. So yeah, it's what he's actually saying. What Ola is saying is quite true. It's true.
Well, we're starting to see the differences now. See, me, I'm more like Aaron. My culture, the boys have chores, but never would a mother tell her son to wash the dishes because it's seen for us as that's a woman's work. For the boys, they have different chores. They might be sent outside to go mow the lawn. They might be sent outside to go
Yep.
clean out the garden, do things like that for the mother, or even go to the store to go grab things. They have chores, but never like specific women's work. That's what we call like washing the clothes, folding, dishes, mopping, all of that, that is for women. And we leave that strictly to the women. So I do hear what you're saying. And it does seem like it would be good to train a boy to be more independent. But in our culture, I believe they want to train the boy so that he knows that he needs a woman. Like, that's my woman. I bring her in my house because that's her job and I do my job. And it
Yep.
works that way for us. For us, it works. And I'm guessing for Nigerians, it works the other way too. Aaron, did you have something you want to say?
Yes. Um, Children must be nurtured, right? Adults should be held accountable because you're adult. The way you nurture a child is like you're molding them mentally, physically, and spiritually, and you raise them in a way, right? Take an example. Um, if I take a child, let's say 2, 3 years old, and imagine in a hypothetical world, there's a convention of murderers, right? They give speech or celebrate stabbing people, right? If I take a child to that festival, right? Let's say there's a festival going on every year. I take that child to that festival every day and they are talking proudly about how to stab people, right? The child will grow up thinking it's okay to stab people, right? So, and there are a lot more with that example. I can give a lot more other things with it, right? How you train a child, how you raise a child is what they become, right? Now, physically, there are some things that are not in your control, right? When the puberty hits, that's when the distinguish is made between a man and a woman, clearly in physical nature. Mentally, you might feel whatever, but physically, you can tell there are some differences that are happening in your body because of chemical reactions, right? Now, um, a man is supposed to figure things out. If I'm left alone, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to cook a chicken. I'll figure out how to kill it, defeather it, cook it in a way it's edible for me, right? Cleaning, I can figure all that out, right? Like Ameera was saying, I had different chores. I had to pick up a 50-pound rice bag and take it upstairs, right? And had to guard my house when my dad is not at home. That was my responsibility to make sure you're prepared to fight if something happens, right? The time period I grew up in, where my house was, especially in the village. We're in the village. We are really in between jungles, and from one village to another village, you gotta travel through at night. There's no street lights, none of that stuff, right? So back in the day, if people used to break in, they used to take machetes and they break into the house and rob the house and leave, right? Especially if there's no man in the house, right? So what they do is they walk around during daytime and they figured out, okay, this man might be out tonight or whatever. Uh, then they try to rob the house, right? My job was to protect my house in my father's absence. My job was to protect my mother in my father's absence. Even if I have to put my life on the line, that's my job. And it's not said, but the way I was raised, it's understood, and I take up that position as soon as my dad leaves, right? And the reason why
Thank
they
you, Aaron.
teach, yeah, the reason why they don't allow me to come into the kitchen and wash my dish after I eat or whatever is because as a man, if I'm leaving house, I'm going for work. I need all my energy to go out there and bring enough money or food or work in the field or work in the farm or whatever I need to do. So they need me 100% recharged to go out and make the money. When I come home, that's my safe house where I can recharge again so that I can wake up again early in the morning before the sunrise and go do that again. Right?
Understood. Understood.
So that's and in an essence, they're also preparing me to take my position as a husband when I grow up.
True.
So,
True.
Right?
so sorry. Are you saying as a child boy or as a man? I mean, I feel like I'm hearing two different things. As a man, I completely get that. As a child boy, what about that? Like a teenager, 13-year-old, 12-year-old.
I never cooked in my house. I never cleaned a dish in my house. I was kicked out of the kitchen by my own aunties, by my own mother. So, like, they were like, "You have no business coming into the kitchen. Get out of here."
At 10 years old, we were sent to boarding school, right? At 10 years old, we had to go to boarding school. And it was a mixed school, meaning boys and girls, right? In the class, or in churches, or at the chapel, right? you have the girls sit on one side and girls. There's some unwritten things like that, right? And you just kind of know you have to be the flirt of the class to come to, like as a boy, go sit among the girls, right? That happens once in a while, right? But do you guys know what cutlass is? Cutlass, like the
Mhm.
manual thing to cut grasses, the
Oh,
manual.
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
All right,
yes,
right. Like a machete, but not a machete. The smaller one
yes. It's
to
a
cut
long stick
grasses.
with the yeah.
Right, right. Yeah. So guess what? Like with this rhetoric, we will say girls are not allowed to hold the cutlass. It was the men. It was the
Yep,
young boys, right?
yep.
That's not accurate, right? The girls had their own cutlass and they cut grasses in Nigeria.
Same thing, same thing. My grandmother used to have her own machete
Uh
to
huh.
cut the grass, right? But then
Yeah.
she couldn't handle the bulls.
So wouldn't you consider that masculine, sure, of some sort?
Well,
Masculine.
the women, I don't know about Aaron, just really quickly. The women in our culture, they work outside too. They do the
Yep.
gardening. They are out there and they are getting their hands dirty. And sometimes they may need to use that tool to cut down things in order to make the garden, make the soil ready. So that wouldn't be considered masculine work unless she was
Got you.
cutting down trees or doing something, extreme.
Got
That's
you.
not for her. That's for the men to do. But her using that tool, it wouldn't be seen. Did you want to say something?
Take my grandfather and grandmother, right? My grandmother and my grandfather, they worked as a team, right? But my grandfather had his own responsibilities, and my grandmother had her responsibility when they come home, right? When they used to go work in the farm, my grandfather used to go plow the farm because he was much more stronger. There was no tractor, there was nothing, so they used to use bulls, right? And a female cannot do that because she does not have strength, right? So what my grandmother used to do is she used to take rice grains and she used to put the not the rice grain, the baby rice plants. She used to plant them because that's something she can do, right? But when it comes to plowing the land using the bulls, she cannot do that. And if a bull act up, my grandfather used to tame them, holding by the rope that goes into the nose. He used to tame them. My grandmother could not do that. But my grandmother nurtured the buffaloes, which used to give the milk. She, in a way, she was communicating with them. So if the buffalo has a baby, calf or whatever, she used to raise them because those buffaloes, we had like 10 or 11 buffaloes and calves and whatnot. That was our milk every day for all the family when we go to
Can I ask
village.
Quincy really quickly? Quincy, what do you think about this? Do you have anything to add really quickly before we open the phone
Yeah,
lines?
yeah, yeah. I do. Apparently from where I'm from. Talking about my village, and back then when I was little, and going to stay with my grandma and my grandfather in the village. Um, Everybody gets their hands dirty. Like everybody goes out there. My grandma, I can remember my grandma going out to the farm, my grandpa going out to tap wine from the palm trees and all that just to make fresh wine. And my grandma goes out to the farm just to cultivate some cassavas, some yams, some potatoes and all that stuff. She goes into the farm. She takes us along, boy and girl. I and my cousins. She takes everybody along, and we do the work. But when it comes back when you go out there and you come back home,
Yep.
when my grandfather comes back home, everybody's accorded their respect, especially my grandfather because he's the head of the family and all that stuff. Yeah. So in terms of being feminine and masculine out there, everybody at least from what I've seen, like my grandmother out there is just out there doing her own thing, trying to provide for her family and being in I don't want to say she was independent, but she was strong. She was she tapped into her. I don't know if I can say her masculine side. I don't think so because I don't want to regard it as that. I just saw a woman who, had to go out there and do something. And that puts me in a state of fact that yes, you can actually go out there, fend for yourself and come back. But when you come back home, you know, the atmosphere changes. You go out there, do your thing, and when you come back home, you accord the man in the house his respect. So my grandfather comes back home, everybody gets his own gets, what they have actually done for the day. We cook and we eat, and when it's time and when everybody's done eating, whoever is I remember then, like when everybody's done eating, whoever's turn is it to do the dishes, whether it's my turn or whether it's my cousin's turn, who is a boy, you get to do the dishes, and everybody could call it a day. So that's how it's done. Like everybody, it's a rotation. But when we go out there, they also tell you, how you'll be able to. My grandmother also teaches us that in as much as we all do these things, you still have to know your place as a woman. You still have to know your place as a man. He talks talking to my cousin, and when you go out there, you treat people with respect, especially when you see a woman. Your elderly, you treat them with respect. So and in as much as we're doing our stuff, they're still teaching us and telling us how we can able to tap into our feminine side, and my male cousins how they'll be able to tap into their masculine side. So yeah, so that's how I actually know how I can be able to tap into my feminine side. And when I go out there, I get to do I I'll be a boss, do my own thing, hustle, and when I come back home, I know how to act as a woman, respect myself, and respect whoever the male in the house and all that. So because that's what I was actually taught.
I understand what you're saying, Quincy, and that sounds really good. But what we've seen here in America, I just so you guys know, the phone lines are open. If you guys want to call in, please have your camera on and have good lighting. Quincy, what I wanted to say to you was what we have here in America is that women are doing that, or they're saying, I can go to work and I can be the boss and I can come home and then be the submissive lady to my husband. But what we're seeing is that this is not something that we can turn on and off. This is something that is a behavior that is instilled in us from young, and we grow up with it. And it's not something that we can say, well, when I get home, I'm going to be this way. And when I go to work, I'm going to be that way. We are not like robots where we can't just turn that switch on and off. What do you think about that?
To turn it off requires an extensive amount of patience, and leadership, and it's a brand new type of leadership. It's not what you were used to. It's a new era. It's completely different, but it takes infinite patience, and that's the work. Like I said, that most people are not willing to do. That's the conversation they're not willing to have. If, like you said, if there was a switch, it's energy. It's flowing, right? It's always flowing, but it's flowing all the way right now, all the way to the extreme left. It's toxic. Yes, it is toxic, right? It would destroy. Somebody asked me, let me just take the opportunity to ask that. Answer. No, I don't do 50-50 marriage. I actually do what Anton does, which is benevolent dictatorship, right? Um, the truth is that what I said earlier is the truth, but the truth, there is no such thing as absolute truth coming out of anybody's mouth. It's as simple as that. Everyone is talking as a function of their experiences and their biases. That's just the bottom line. At the end of the day, people go back into history to pull out what they feel will support their motion, or what their agenda, or what their rhetoric, or whatever they want to push is. That's just what people do, right? But yeah, it's really that simple. I do think that it's possible, but it's going to take patience. I don't think it's going to happen in this generation. I think it can happen for individuals, right? Focus on attracting what complements you, right? The feminine energy is all over the place. In men, might I say,
Oh
right?
my God.
All right. So just like masculine energy is in the women, it's also all over the place in men. And but I need specific case studies to point it out for you. But here's the bottom line. If you start to feel unsafe and insecure as a man, and you need another person to make you feel unsafe and secure, that's feminine energy.
I can agree. I can agree. I can agree with that. So, let me see. I have, oh God, I can't see them anymore. I lost my super chats. I was going to shout them out, but they're not here. One second. I did lose them. Oops. Okay. I do apologize if I didn't get a chance to read out the super chats, guys. I'm sorry. Let me see if I have anything before we, one second. Okay. I have one more thing. Here we are. So, my last question to you was this. What, if any, struggles have you had solely based on your ethnicity? If you haven't had any, you can say none. But have you had any issues or struggles based off of your ethnicity solely? I'll start with you. Ola, you can go first.
So based off of my culture, my ethnicity, have I had any issues? Yeah, usually I'll say with marriage. So early on, I've been married for 14 years. And in my early days of marriage, yes, there was a lot of clash that had to do with the ethnicity. Because, like I said, the average person in my age range, maybe 5 years older than me, maybe 10 years older than me, and younger than me, they have a conflict, a serious conflict going on inside of them because either they like to admit it or not, they are being westernized. And when it's uncomfortable, like I'll give you an example. There's this thing called atari. I don't know the English for it. It's some kind of pepper, but it's like they use it as a symbol of something, one of the rituals that they do during marriage and stuff like that. And what happened to Africa, which is they brought um, the religion, religion from the Middle East that came into Africa and stuff like that, which African has turned into anything else right now. We don't want to get into that conversation. But the point is that they've taken on those religion and they are doing it more than even the people that brought it to them, right? My parents happen to have subscribed to something. Go and see, right? My parents happen to have subscribed to it, right? So they weren't okay with the traditional marriage stuff. They wanted to discard that. But I'm married into like literally two states over. The same tribe. I'm a Yoruba man. I married another Yoruba woman, but it's two states over, and they had their reservations about that particular town.
Isn't Yoruba I'm sorry, I might be saying it wrong. Is it Yoruba or Yoruba?
Yoruba,
Yoruba.
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 Yeah.
Aren't you the largest tribe in your region?
We are one of the largest, but we're not the largest. We're one of the three majors
Okay.
in that country. So that became a bunch of issues, not only because of that little piece of pepper for the symbol, but also because they had their resentments with the idea that I went to another state to go marry. So we're not talking about another country. We're not talking about another, well, kind of sort of another religion. She's from a Muslim background, but she doesn't practice Muslim. Her father still does, right? But all of this altogether became chaos. So the idea that people are, because they come from Eastern, they don't have this issue, they do. They actually have these issues from town to town. Like in my own village has probably less than, let me say, maybe 20,000 people. There are certain streets you can't go to go marry because, quote unquote, they tend to have ringworms in that street.
Ring ringworms.
I'm telling you, it's human behavior.
Is that true,
It's
Quincy?
it's human behavior. It's
Yeah.
easy. It's easy to say, is this guy's fault? Is this guy's fault? Is this guy's fault? These are human behaviors. You just have to learn how to be a strong self, so you can manage other people's emotions. Yeah.
Aaron, have you had any
It,
problems? Oh, go ahead, Quincy. Quincy.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry to interrupt. It's. I when he just said, something, I just kept on laughing inside of me because it's quite it's a funny. I call it a funny situation here, and and I'm just glad that our generations, millennials, and maybe Gen X too as well. Everybody fights that because these are like decades and generations, and that goes way back. You know, um of 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 fighting. I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
these are decades of issues, that these people have had, and they've taken it down, just maybe from the word of mouth or something. This could have been like a beef between one family and the other, and that was it. And it went down in history that people can marry from, maybe the same um um faith. I'm like literally like you guys are countrymen, you guys are kingsmen. Can't you just like get it over with? Not because of an inherited issue that y'all had, like our ancestors had, and like where I'm from, the eastern part of Nigeria. I'm an Igbo girl. We also have this tribalism where we don't get to marry somebody who is also maybe from another state. Like there's this beef between a particular state and one other state. Like it has gone on for decades that, it has actually, you know, trampled upon relationships. When a man comes to the parents and say, "Oh, mom, I'm about to get married," the mom asks, "Where is she from?" And the man says, "Oh, she's from this state," and the mom says, "No, hell no, I can't
Yep.
take it."
Yep.
So, something like that. The mom just like, automatically she just says no without anything, just because of decades of maybe something she heard of or something, or maybe somebody's past. Not even the woman that the son is bringing into the family. Someone else, like she heard it from a story, or maybe something her mother told her, or something her
That is
great
so
great
true.
grandmother said. Something. It's annoying. Like it doesn't make sense. Like, but
Mhm.
I'm just glad that people don't care anymore. Like they just marry who they actually want to marry, and they just say, you know what, you are not going to live with this woman with me. I love this woman, and I know who I want to marry, and I do not care. You guys should deal with your issues. And before you know it, I actually have a cousin who didn't even care. He just went to the registry, and he just got married, and everybody was mad. But at the end of the day, everybody just, what, yeah, you've done your thing and do the traditional rites, and we call it a day. So yeah, it's in house. We have our issues with ourselves. Talk
I
more of,
know. I
um,
know it.
going out there. In house, we have our issues. Like it is crazy. It is chaos. When it comes to like, marriage and all that stuff. I'm like, come on, y'all. It's the 21st century. You guys should just let this thing go. So
That's so
yeah.
true. We have the same thing in Middle Eastern culture as well. I mean, you have the family who just the last name of another family, and they're like, you're not marrying that last name. Aaron, do you guys have that really quickly before we get to Terry or TJ? Sorry, before we get to TJ, do you have anything you want to add, Aaron? Do you face the same problem or?
Um, I never faced any issues, right? I got tested growing up because of my skin color,
Right.
but then that that I I navigated myself through it, right? One way or the other. Struggles is part of life. Without pain, there's no life. Even the childbirth occurs through pain, right?
True.
Um, I
Terry, TJ is like, yes.
I went through them. Opportunities came. I took advantage of them. Not every opportunity turned into a fruit, but then made something out of myself. Struggle is part of it. Without struggle, ain't nothing can be achieved.
You know what they say that diamonds, the most beautiful thing in the world, come
Absolutely,
from pressure. Pressure. Yep.
absolutely,
TJ
absolutely.
knows.
So I'm not going to give no power to struggle over my winnings, right? But
Correct.
there's no struggle. Um, my struggle is not greater than the next man or less than the next man. But because of my ethnicity, I don't think there's ever been an issue. Even there was any little things, I'm going to write them off because I'm not going to give power to them. I've come to America by myself. I made something out of myself with the opportunities that I had, and those are the opportunities everybody else have too, right? So,
Yes.
I'm grateful for that.
These are words to live by. And before we get to TJ, I just want to call out the super chat. It says, I love the cultural mix in this conversation. It's so refreshing to hear people from different parts of the globe come oops, and talk and talk about the issues that we all face. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, Pillow Talk with Sarah Bay. Thank you so much. TJ, I want you guys to know TJ is a special part of this channel. TJ, welcome in. Good to see
Hi,
you
Miss
again.
CJ. Hi.
TJ.
Hey, TJ.
TJ, you have to
Hi,
unmute yourself. There
hi,
you
TJ.
Can you hear me?
go. Yes.
Thank you very much. Hey, Ola. Hey, Quincy. Hey, everybody. And shout out to Female Energy. I guess I was the first one calling in. You were right. So,
She said it. She called it.
she did. Okay. I'm everywhere. Here's the thing, though. Ola, you said it with respect to masculine energy. It's funny because I had a mother daughter talk on my channel a couple of days ago, and my daughter just put me on blast. I thought that I was showing her one thing, but what I was actually showing her was something different. I was showing her dominance, and she actually pointed that out as it related to the relationship she had witnessed me have, growing up. And she thought that that's one of the reasons she said that she didn't take some men seriously because the only thing it showed her is how dominant I was. And I had no idea that that's what I was showing her. I thought that I was showing her how to manage a home, how to manage life, but it wasn't, I was showing her the wrong things. But I did not know because again, as an officer in not one but two branches of the military, I had to be really assertive, or you don't get taken seriously. Um, but what I didn't realize, I didn't know how to take it off. And one of the reasons I didn't know how to take it off because I had no one at home to balance that. When you are single, you have no one else to hold you accountable. And my daughter as a child, she wouldn't go home me accountable. But but you don't know. And it wasn't until I got older and I started to ask myself, why am I having all these challenges with relationships, that I had to do a self-assessment. And so it does take a different type of leadership, but it definitely, and in addition, not a but in addition to, it takes self-awareness. It takes self-awareness. And I am very honest that I did not have it because I thought that I was showing, this is how you're supposed to conduct yourself. This is how you handle your business. But I never taught her how to fall back.
You're
I,
100% correct. I agree
yeah.
with you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So
Finish.
no, but I'm grateful that, and by her own words, she said, in as much as I showed her what not to do in some instances, but I showed her how to dominate in the workforce. But she said, well, when she got home, she don't need to dominate. She said she dominates in the workforce because she said if she didn't, she would get taken advantage of. She said, but there's no one in my home taking advantage of me. My husband's not going to take advantage of me. So why do I need to try to dominate in the home? So I'm glad that even though she was not able to get that part from me, she got it. And I'm learning from her um, to fall back. And I'm not ashamed to say, but it is hard to take off if you don't make a conscious effort to say, I don't want this. I don't want to be like
Absolutely.
this.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's all I
Yeah.
got.
Yeah. The,
Thank
the,
you,
the, the
TJ.
leadership. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I
No,
could
no, no,
go?
you're fine. You're fine. I was
Okay.
going to say thank you, TJ,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
TJ is an inspirational woman. If you know
Oh,
her
she brings
story,
it.
yeah, I watch her channel. She is very inspirational, and her
Yeah.
story about how she married and the way she treats her husband, it's incredible. If anybody has a chance, please check out DL. Look at
Yeah. Yeah.
please check out TJ's channel. Go on, Ola. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes, I followed her because we met at on TLA's platform, some I don't know last week or 2 weeks ago. But yeah, you're absolutely on point. I'm getting feedback. Is it me? It's not me.
It might.
Oh, maybe somebody mute.
Okay, maybe from you. Yeah. So you're absolutely correct. We like ladies. Let me just talk to the ladies. You can't afford to wait for the man to bring that leadership because, like I said earlier, it may take more than a lifetime to push things back to the equilibrium that is supposed to be. However, you can accomplish a lot as a person, self, by working on how you attract and what you attract, right? You can't afford to. So the leadership starts from you. That's essentially what self awareness is, right? So if you know that the nature of your job involves you being, dominance, protecting yourself, security, all these things that are, yes, you're human, you're not God. There's a tendencies you'll bring that back home, and that's going to create chaos. When it comes to sexual polarity, when it comes to creating attraction, it's going to create chaos. So being self-aware about that will go a long way. That's like 80% of the battle won by just being self-awareness. I was just coaching somebody yesterday about this, and I said, hey, I know you're learning all this stuff, but all this stuff puts you into your cerebral when you're thinking. That's a masculine thing, right? I want you to sometimes just turn it off and say, yes, I'm learning all this stuff. I just want to call him and kiss all over him and just love him without overthinking it, right? And that's also deliberate, but at least we're, and you have to practice all of those kind of things until it becomes second nature. But that takes a while. That's going to take some patience on your end. It's going to take some pushback on your end too. But again, people have all this different trauma and things going on that happened in their past, why they're where they are. It's what they learned. I don't see it as right and wrong. I do see that there are consequences that could be bad, and we can avoid our reality, right? But we can't avoid the consequences of avoiding reality. So I think we should pay attention as individuals, both men and women, to these things. If you see it as right and wrong, you will resent the people you love, and then you create more chaos. Thank you so much,
Agreed.
TJ.
Thank you so much, TJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, TJ, thank you so much because I just heard your story about you and your daughter, and I just remember the relationship that I had with my mom, because my mom is a very strong woman. She's very assertive, very opinionated. She's so vocal, like, she's a strong person. Like, I didn't know where she got that energy from. And but out there, when I see my mom and how she's dominating in terms of her business, she doesn't like anybody, talk to her and all that stuff. Then when she comes back home, you know, she still kind of like, gives that dominating and assertive tone, but I kind of like, tell her, I don't know, I kind of like tell my mom, sometimes I check her and I tell her, you gotta tone it down sometimes, especially when she's talking to me and maybe to my dad, I tell her, well, you gotta tone it down sometimes. And the reason why I became self-aware is because I went to an all-girls school, you know, I went to a boarding school and we're all girls. And so I tapped in a whole lot of femininity. And, I also learned, from my friends, my peers, in terms of conversations they had or how they have conversations with their friends or how their stories they tell. So I was able to learn and I was able to, put that into my consciousness that, what, it's not going to be um, always to be dominant and, so vocal, even though when you're out there and when you come back to the home, sometimes you got to tone it down, you got to bring it down and, make sure that, the sweet, tap into, it's okay to tap into your feminine side, when you come back home. So it's not chaos, you don't have two captains on the ship, you have one who's driving it and you actually have the other one, who's out there and also conducting things at the back, and that's my mom, So I was able to learn and I was able to check my mom. Sorry, did you want to say something?
Yes, just really quickly, I'll let you finish, but I just wanted to point out a comment that was directed at TJ. This was by Lovely Bird's Nest. She commented, she said, at TJ, I cried to my mom about 3 months ago about how I was tired of playing both roles. Then last month, I was brought to this network and have been here ever since. It's very informative and eye-opening. I appreciate that, Lovely Bird. That's, thank you for sharing your personal story. And okay, Quincy, you can finish.
Yeah. And yeah, sometimes it can be exhausting. I really understand what that person is saying, because, you're able to switch in and switch off and everything. But you know what? You just have to be self conscious. You just have to be aware. You just have to know who you are and know that, you have to find a way to balance it. It can be exhausting, yeah, but, it's life. You just have to find a way to balance it. Where you go to work, sometimes you also have to tap into your feminine energy so you don't get burnt out, sometimes it's not every day that you get to, you have to prove to yourself, something, prove to everybody that, okay, it's you. Sometimes you just pipe it down a little bit, just let things go. You're observing, you're taking notes. And when you come back home too as well, you talk to whoever is at home, just to, tell them that this is what you observed. Every day is not a fight. Every day is not a battle. Sometimes you just gotta let it, you know, easy. And some days you just have to go as hard, maybe at work. But just know that even though you go hard at home, when you, I mean, at work or, out there facing the world, because you have to prove who you are and everything, you know, when you come back home, at least at the back of your head, you know that when you come back home, it's easy. You have somebody you can, actually talk to, distress yourself, just to make sure that it's not too much for you. You don't get to explode one day. So yeah, I really do understand what CJ said. Keeping my mom in check when she comes back, trying to, you know, be dominant. Or, if she had a bad day, coming back home and everybody gets to feel it, and I tell her, no, you know what, you need to cool up, you need to bring it down. I understand where you're coming from. Just take a shower and you'll be all right. And so yeah, that's I really do understand what you're saying, and I can relate to that.
Thank you,
So yeah.
Quincy. Thank you so much. I want to welcome Abba from Abba and Preach. I'm joking. I want to welcome Afsos and Maya True. Welcome, guys. Do you have anything on the topic? Do
I
you have questions?
Yes, this is actually my first call in to any show ever on YouTube, and it specifically felt close to me because I've lived in about close to a decade in India, so I have experienced that living there in that culture and marriage and how they do it there. And I'm originally from Somalia, and also I was born in Dubai, so I was like, I have a lot of perspectives on this, and this show specifically felt like it was talking to me, so that's why
Calling
I
your
called it.
name.
Yes, yes, yes.
What do you have to add?
So personally, I think that there's a lot of similarities between Somali culture, which is like Somali East African culture, and a lot to Indian culture. We have a lot of similarities. The way how we do things, certain ways that we dress, is we're very similar in our marriages as well. And personally, for me, I'm not married at the moment, but I spoke to my dad about it, and he was like, I'm going to help you get married. You don't have to worry, because he said he's gonna vet the person that I'm going to marry, and we have a lot of clans and tribes, and so he was like, you cannot marry somebody from that tribe, from that clan, because they're that kind of person. Like there's a lot of like intricacies. So
Did they
personally,
suggest that? I'm sorry. Did they suggest that you marry an Indian woman or Somali or Dubai Dubai woman?
the Somali personally, because you would our Somali communities, like we are very underrepresented on like YouTube and social media and stuff, is because we have a lot of uh, opinions and stuff, but we like to keep it to ourselves for the most. So it's very rare that you see somebody from Somalia or on YouTube talking about stuff, or putting stuff out there. So yeah, but they wanted me to marry a Somali woman, and they would prefer that I finish my education first and
One
then
moment, one
get married.
moment, Absol. I'm sorry. Quincy, can
Yes.
you mute your mic for a second?
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, go on, Absol. I'm sorry.
So yes, that's what I wanted to add. I just wanted to confirm some of the things that were said. There's a lot of similarities on the way we do things, and yeah, that's what.
Understood. Understood. Do you have any
So,
questions for any of the panelists?
just I got one.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, Afsos.
Alaikum salam, bhai. Kaise ho?
Somebody. Which part of India were you in?
So I've lived in the south. First, when I moved to India, I lived in the south in Hyderabad, and then I
Oh, okay.
moved to
That's my city, man.
I lived
Born
there
and
for a
raised.
while.
Hyderabad, man. Born and raised. I mean, my dad moved to city, but I was born in a village. But that's my city, man. Hyderabad.
I've lived there
You
for
been to
like
Charminar?
I've been to Charminar. I lived in like Mehdipatnam, Ratiboli. So I've lived in Hyderabad, and then I moved to Delhi. And the way they did things over there was completely different to the south. So it's like
Yeah.
two different. Depending on where you are, it's like two different completely.
Yeah.
It could be like two different
Hyderabad.
countries.
Hyderabad has equal population of Muslim and Hindu people and Christians. They got a lot of
Yes.
good-looking Muslim people, man. You might want to find a bride of
We have a family reunion going on here. Uh-oh.
right?
No, it's just I personally speak Hindi. I speak Arabic. I speak Somali. So it's like
Urdu?
I speak Urdu too. So For me, it's like wherever I go. So my dad is like, when he brought us up, he was like, first you're gonna learn English. Forget about anything else, because if you learn English, you'll be set in life. Like wherever you go, you can assimilate. You don't have to worry about anything. So
That's because of colonization, right? Even
yes,
even when I was born, my dad made sure he sent me to the Western school, right? Because we got independence in 1947. At that time, if you want to grow up and get a job, you have to speak English. In
yes,
reality, you do mathematics in my language or in English, it's the same thing. But if you do mathematics in my language, it's not accepted. It's still the same numbers. 1 + 1 is 2, okati plus okati is rundu. But it's not accepted because if you speak English, if you do mathematics in English, you're considered intelligent. And that's, I don't agree with that, but whatever.
yes. We have
You
like
don't agree with speaking
Yeah,
English?
yeah, that's messed up.
No, I don't agree with the institutionalization of, if you are good at doing mathematics in English, you're considered more intelligent than if you do mathematics in my language. When the result is the same, math is the same, right?
I
So,
see, I see.
so
I see. Well, thank you so much, Afsos, for joining us. Thank you
no
for
problem.
your questions and everything. You might have a reunion with with Arun.
No
Well,
problem. I
thank you
appreciate
so
you
much.
talking to me, guys, and have a good night.
Thank you. Bye bye. Hi, Maya. Am I saying that right? Is it Mia or Maya?
It's Maya. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, Maya.
Hi, how you guys doing tonight?
Good, good. What do you have on the topic?
All right, this is a great conversation. So I'm from Michigan. Michigan is like a melting pot. We have a lot of different cultures here, a lot of different ethnicities here. Like for example, I stay in like around a lot of Indian people. I have know exactly where exactly they come from. I know I can tell they're Indian. I stay around a lot of Indian people, and the crazy and I am in a relationship with a Persian man. Okay, so he's from the Middle East. He's from Iran, and you know, it's difficult, right? So he has a whole different perspective than me. He comes from a whole different culture. And to be very honest with you, it it's not easy, especially when trying to work with his family, right? His mom is like no on me, no. She like no no matter what, and I'm a very good person and I treat him very good, but she's like no. And his I can't hear you.
Yeah, unmute yourself, Amira.
I can hear you now.
Yeah,
I can hear you
Amira,
now. What did you
Amira,
say?
you need to unmute.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I had my husband's here speaking to me. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, so his sister and the brothers are a little bit more fond of me. They will talk to me and kind of welcome me in, and his sister and I will talk, but his mom is a no. And I mean, at first it was very difficult. And it was very difficult for him. It was very stressful for him because I was also his first time dating a black woman. And we've been very transparent, and we got together in the middle of like the George Floyd everything that happened with him. So it was it was tension. We had completely different views. And so, but I would say that we got past it and we're happily together. And I hopefully, if God's willing, I will be married soon. But this is it worked out for me because my man is a great man, and he really had to say, forget his religious beliefs or what his parents tried to, what he was instilled with. He had to put it to the side for me, because if he did not put it to the side, then he wouldn't be with me. And over there in the East, the culture is religion basically, and it's something that we really had to get over with. But I will say that my Persian, he has taught me a lot of discipline.
Okay, I didn't have any. I'm from Michigan. I grew up from Grand Rapids. Okay, and I was fighting literally my cousins, my brother. I was fighting. My mom is divorced. My grandma is. I didn't get a chance to meet her husband, but I had no example of like discipline at all. And when I met my guy, he had very low tolerance. He was very straight to the point, and I really didn't even know how to talk. I mean, now, like, listen, I thought I knew how to talk, but I didn't know how to talk. And he
That's
used to
very
say that all the
cultural. That's a
time.
very cultural thing with us. You know, the men are of very few words. They don't tend to explain themselves very much.
At all. He has a very hard time managing his emotions, like you said. Like he just he doesn't feel like it needs to be on this conversation. And I'm getting equipped to that. And actually, it's a huge turn on for me because I never experienced it. I never experienced it. I mean, even with black men, I mean, you can give a little push with them. You can give a little, but it's not no. It's straight to the point. And I admire that about him. And he has shifted my whole personality because he demands me to be very disciplined and submissive to him. And I appreciate that, you know, and I appreciate that. And I just wanted to say I encourage interracial relationships. I mean, it is hard,
Uh
especially
oh.
for a
Uh
black
oh.
woman
Don't
from the
say
East.
that. Don't say
No,
that.
it is. You don't
No,
say what?
you
Don't say
might get
the
She's shaking
some
tables.
pushback here.
She's shaking tables.
what?
Go ahead, Maya.
What's the pushback?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I guess I'm on a delay, but what's the pushback, Amira?
No, no,
No,
we
not it's
said.
not for me.
Go
It's
ahead.
not for me per se, but even Ola is saying you're shaking up the table a little bit because some people will disagree here. You'll have people in the chat maybe they might come at you because you said that, but go on, continue.
But because I said what the hard part, or I'm supporting interracial relationships.
Yeah, because of the interracial relationship. Some people do not agree with that at all.
And then, well, let me tell you this though: as a black woman, we have very limited options. The pool of black men is not that big, right? So if we really want to be married, it would be smart and wise of us to go outside of our race. A lot of black women are so um, focused and narrow minded when it comes to dating outside of our race because of what our parents told us or what social society tells us that who we should be with. But listen, if people could really erase that out of their head, they would experience dating a Persian man and all of the love the so you know if you could experience what I experienced, nobody would have that type of stereotype or have that negative mindset. They just wouldn't have it. Honestly, like you have to try it before you knock it, and it's almost the best thing I ever did. So I just
That is
want
super
people
sweet.
to understand that, okay? And
Hmm.
Ola, I wanted to just because when I tuned in here, I did see that you were saying that leadership starts within yourself. And I just want to give you just a little bit of pushback because leadership starts with the man. And I feel like the reason that we are living in this type of society that we're living in here in the US is because men have dropped the ball on leadership. If more men will step up and know their role and know how to lead, basically, essentially, then more women would follow them. More women wouldn't feel this leniency that they feel, and they wouldn't have this um, I don't care attitude in general. If men would have step up to the side, I mean, women need to take accountability. We obviously need to do the work ourselves. However, when it comes down to leadership, women follow, and we submit to good leadership. And it's just as simple as that. If we had a good man and men were to step up, the women will follow. And that's the only pushback I have.
All right.
I'm gonna say something, Maya. Right?
Yeah.
Um, I've been married to an African American woman. Right? Things didn't work out. It's all good. Um, You know how old are you, man?
I'm
If I may
26.
ask. 26, right? Growing up, you had to learn to know yourself and love yourself, right? It did not just happen since the day you were born, right? At certain ages of your life, at certain phases, you probably were. I mean, everybody goes through this. I wish I was like this. I wish I probably was an inch taller or inch shorter. I wish this was different, that was different. But over when you, as you get adult, you would learn to love yourself because this is the only option you have. You cannot change that because you're born in that body, right? Marriage, there's a reason why it's called significant other. There's a reason why it's called when man and woman get married, they become one in flesh. You have to learn each other and accept each other. You might not like everything about themselves. If you compare them with somebody else, there's always a better option, right? But you have to learn the other person like how you learn your body and learn to love it because you have no other option other than loving your own body. If you have the power, right, you probably switch up your body too. But God did not create it like that. You have no other option. Like take my mother and father, right? I have no at certain phase of my life, I did not like my parents for whatever reasons as a kid, right? But as I grow older, hey, that's my mother, that's my father. They probably had the same thoughts too. Man, he wilding out. My father probably thought that too when I was, 18, 17, 18, doing all kinds of stuff on the whatever, right? But then there's no other option. That's God's creation. That's my mother. That's my father. Like it or not, I have to accept them, right? This is my body. Like it or not, I have to accept it, learn to love it, and make something out of it, right? Then you would find your purpose. Then you fall in love with your purpose, right? Marriage is like that. And if you're not approaching marriage like that, there's no point of marrying somebody else. And marriage is mainly to raise kids. And then if the other things come with it, economic benefits, financial benefits, family tree, last name, which will evolve into a tribe, like how Ola said, Yoruba tribe, right? The Yoruba tribe did not become the biggest tribe, one of the three biggest tribes um, overnight. It's families multiplying into more families and they're practicing similar characteristics, values, morals, and passing on economic finances, building wealth, and all that. They expanded into many families, and that last name or the tribe name became one of the biggest three tribes in Nigeria. That is called legacy, right? When we are gone, what is left? People think legacy means establishing money and passing on. No, no. After 100 years, your genetic code is still getting passed on.
It's
You know what I
family.
mean?
Yes, family is your legacy. Yeah.
And that part is not getting taught over here. And people are confused about the basic fundamentals. And there's a lot other things. Get the fundamentals right. There are a lot of other things in achieving in life. And we're not even there. We're at the kindergarten about the fundamentals. You know what I mean? So, but thanks for your input, man.
Ola, did you
Oh,
want to
you're
respond?
welcome.
Yeah, I'll speak really quickly to that. So, anytime there's a little disagreement, it tends to be from a place of context, right? So we're probably saying the same thing. When it comes to romance with another human, another man, yes, you will be absolutely correct. I personally prefer that the man is leading and setting the tone, especially from an emotional standpoint. That's what I prefer too. However, when we're talking about what you attract, when we're talking about how you move so you can attract what you like, right? That's before the man comes into the picture. You're gonna have to lead that. Who else is gonna lead that? You're gonna have to lead that yourself, and you're in
Well, can I
control
say
of how
one
you
thing?
move. Yeah. Yes.
Um, I agree with you. You have to be the very thing that you are attracting. I agree with that. However, when we're talking about people in the modern society, we're talking about people in US and the women. Um, a lot of us have to be changed because we were grew up the wrong way, right? And we were taught these principles, like you said, that we don't even have the fundamentals. So we have to. Somebody has to teach us. I've been learning because I watched the Lapeef Network. I watched Kevin Samuels, and like I said, I have a Persian man, so he had to shape me. because everyone doesn't come equipped like, oh, I'm ready to just be a wife, because it's not going to happen. A lot of women are not raised like that here in US. So I mean, I get exactly what you're saying. You're right. Um, I have like basic things like kindness and respect. I want somebody to be kind to me. I want someone to respect me. So I'm going to show that to you. Um, but you have to teach me that I need to shut up sometimes. You have to teach me that I need to listen to you, or this is where I'm going wrong. Because if no one teaches you, you'll just be the same way for the rest of your life. Get a dog and die alone, right? So I just, I don't know, So someone had to teach me. I think a lot of women in the U.S. need to be taught too.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna keep pushing Lapeef Network here. They're doing a fantastic job. We're gonna keep mentoring people, and I think they're doing a fantastic job.
Sorry,
It
I
start
have
it
a
starts with
question
these
for Maya.
conversations.
Thank you so much, Ola. Go on, Quincy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maya, I something just stuck in my head based on what you said about your relationship with your man, his present, and his mom, and the mom saying no, no, no. In as much as this is just my opinion though, and I'm gonna direct the question to you. In as much as we tend to like because where I'm from, I value my parents' opinion very well. That doesn't mean sometimes I 100% take it. I still know what's best for me as an individual, but I still take in cognizance in what my parents are saying, and I just put two and two together, then I make an informed adult decision, right? And if have you ever, questioned, maybe why the mom doesn't want you, you know, to be with her son? Is it because of your race, or is it because of some characteristics? Or I don't know, like I just want to
I'm sorry, not to
understand the notion.
yes, Quincy. Sorry to interrupt you, but the reason that his mom has a problem with me is because I'm not Muslim, and because I am black as well. So it's two against me. It's the I'm not Muslim, and it's the blackness. If I wasn't black, she would probably be like, still she's not Muslim, right? But it's both, and and I'm sorry, I guess I said that backwards. If I was black, she'd probably be like, but because I'm not Muslim, it's a definitely no. That's what it is. And it just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's just where he's from. That's where he's from, and that's where how he grew up, and that's all she knows. And I've accepted that. I still have love for his mom. I don't, it is what it is. I just accept it. But I mean, she's not gonna like treat me horribly. She just doesn't support the idea of marriage with me because I'm not Muslim, and that's it. And I've accepted that, so that's what it is.
Okay, okay, I
But he
get you.
doesn't care.
I
I
get
mean,
you.
it doesn't affect me
Because so
because it doesn't affect me because it doesn't affect him. He doesn't let his mom. He's a grown man. I mean, he's an older man at that. He's in his 30s. Not that much older, but he's older than me, and he just doesn't let what his mom feels at this point in life affect him, and that's it.
okay, okay, that's fine.
Let me say this to you, Maya, about that, right? It will affect you, okay? It will, and the only way to mitigate that is you have to have an extreme open mind. He has an extreme open mind. See, every man, they may act like they're in love with you right now and they don't care. Eventually the values are going to creep back in because that's what it was raised with, and if he's not patient enough or you're not patient enough, it's going to affect you guys. But again, there are ways to mitigate that over time with some open-mindedness, being open to learning other culture. Understand it's going to come with some uncomfortable things as time goes on, but I think you can conquer it as long as you keep an open mind. But
Exactly.
it's easier said than done.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much easier
Because
said than done, but I feel like we went through a lot of our hard times in the beginning. And it honestly, what you're saying, I could agree with it had he not brought me around his family already, because he's already did the uncomfortable part. He's done the hardest part that there is to do, which is then
girl,
introduce me
marriage
to
is
his family.
different. It's different
And
from dating.
I'll tell you a little bit of my
Well, oh
story.
yeah, marriage is
My,
definitely different. Yeah.
mine happened early, just before wedding, right? It crept back up 8 years later, just so you know.
Would you ever consider converting, Maya?
Really. um,
The open mindedness just got
I don't know what
tested
to say to
right
that.
here, right now. Right
I
now.
don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to that. I don't know what to say to that right now.
You know, it's gonna be a question in the future. If you all do plan to get married and you do bring on children, how are the children gonna be brought up? Because it is a big deal, especially with the families, because the families, of course, are going to raise the child in a Muslim fashion. What are you
That's a
gonna do?
very important question what Amira asked. When a female gets married to a man, she has to accept the man's culture and religion. I think your
Sorry,
boyfriend.
sorry, Aaron. Is it Quincy that you need to mute? Maybe Quincy, you need to mute.
Quincy, please mute.
Uh oh.
She has music.
Maybe JR can help us.
Um,
Quincy.
yeah. So her mother probably looking at it like all they care about is the family going to stick together, right? What they see in the Western world is they break the families like that, and that is not who we are, like Eastern cultures. The marriage has to stick together. That's when they feel it's fruitful, there's salvation in it, peace and prosperity, and they can go to the next life with happiness and peace, right? But then that would be the biggest fear for them is she gonna keep the marriage when hard times come, when challenges come, right? What is the level of commitment she has? So what Amira asked, would you be willing to convert? That's a part of commitment too, right?
It really is.
And
And
it's
she has to really consider it. She
right.
has to.
So, it's yeah, marriage is not easy. Dating is, but marriage is not. It is not. But there's a lot of benefits that come with it. But
True.
it's a work, right? So,
Yeah, I want to thank you, Maya, for coming on and telling us your story. This has opened up quite the conversation. But is there anything else in closing that you want to say to us?
No. Thank you guys for allowing me to come on.
Thank you for coming on. Have a good night. All right, guys, I want to say thank you for joining me. This has been quite the conversation. Is there any last closing statements that any of you would like to make?
thank you, Amira, for bringing us in. It's an opportunity to share.
I appreciate it so much. All of you guys have had
We
such good
support you guys,
input.
as you all know.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there any, Quincy, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay,
Yeah.
then.
I'm. Yeah. So, first thing says, I'm so sorry for my network. It's really crazy because it's actually 4 a.m. or almost 5 a.m. here, and I expected it to be better, but yeah, it is what it is. I'm sorry
It's
for the
okay.
network connection. I hope it'll be better next time if I come in here, on the network. Yeah. So, this has been an informative session. Me listening. It just shows that we have to be more open in terms of, relating to others when it comes to relationships, lifestyles, cultures and all that stuff. We just have to have a more open mind instead of being closed on, and at the same time holding on to our values, but it's very important to see from other people's perspective, understand them better so that you can relate to them better and, making them also understand that your own core values and culture and where you're coming from is just as important as theirs. So yeah, really, really informative session. Thank you guys so much for having me. And hopefully I get to be on this session, the next time. So yeah, thanks.
I really thank you again for staying up so late. I know it is very late / early in Nigeria. So thank you again, Quincy. Thank you, Ola, for coming on. I mean, we have to do it again. If you guys want to come back for a
We
different
have
topic,
to, Amira. We have to.
Absolutely.
let's do it
Absolutely.
again.
We
Okay,
have
then.
We
to.
we have to.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, thank you guys for joining me.
Oh,
And I,
are you in a rush? I'll just say one last thing.
Go on.
Okay, all right. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Yes, I was watching all the way, and it was hilarious to watch the chat. But shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to all my brothers in the chat, all the sisters in the chat. Everybody, shout out to everyone. I think the most important part of this conversation was probably what was just highlighted in the last 5 minutes. Keeping an open mind. Like if we're going to solve problems, we got to keep an open mind. The easy thing is to point fingers. We can point fingers. There's more than enough opportunity to point fingers at something. But there are like 2,000 different signals, right? We got to start with self. Simply by asking a simple question: am I open-minded enough for what is transpiring right now? Let me just keep an open mind. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm about to learn something new, right?
Yeah.
Anton is always talking
That's right.
about. He's always talking about. I'm always open to the idea of being wrong. He says that all the time. That's real, because we all have a blind spot.
That's true. That's
Thank you so
true.
much
And
for
that's why
having
we
me
have these
here.
Very
conversations,
true.
because you might see something that I don't, and you might be able to point out something that I didn't see, or I didn't think about, or I didn't take into consideration. Like I said, we have to do this again. If you guys have the time, I know Quincy, your time difference is insane, but if you guys have the moment, we can do it again. We can have different topics, and we can dive deeper. Gosh, my English, dive deeper into more subjects about femininity and masculinity, and move on to other things if you guys want, even intimate relationships and so on. If you guys
Oh,
are
Absolutely.
sorry.
Absolutely.
Someone asked a question earlier that what do I think about African American? I think they're awesome. I'm one of them.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Aaron, were you going to say something?
No, absolutely. No, I do have time. I think
You're like, I have time.
literature
All
talks
right.
about one thing I want to say. Ola mentioned, I think, a philosophical conversation about we evolve and females are trying to change the dynamic. It is not going to change. Masculine energy and feminine energy are organic, right?
Mhm.
Like a sun, right? Sun is masculine energy, is grounded, is centered. Earth, we call it Mother Earth, is feminine energy. So Earth
Mhm.
started following sun for so long, where the sun rays penetrated the fertile land of Earth,
Mhm.
and the life was born on Earth,
True.
right? So
We
just
went back to the
small,
beginning right now. We went back to the. Thank
small
you so
analogy,
much.
but
We'll
thank you.
get deeper in that next time we come on. We'll get deeper into it. I want to say thank you again to the chat. Thank you for the super chats, and I hope everyone has a great night. And I guess we'll yield the time now. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye, Quincy.
Bye,
Bye.
Quincy.